Well, we made it to day 2, and we're here in Davos, right on the promenade, and at the Gender Equality Hub. Woo! Yay! That's right, and we got some great folks to visit with and see what their experience has been. And if it's the first time you're joining us, we're having these little sit-downs, coffee times, where we're just going to share our stories and what we're seeing here at Davos relevant to the Gender Equality Hub. UN Women's first time ever here in Davos. My name is Richard Lui, by the way. I'm anchor over at MSNBC and NBC News. It's great to be here to hang out with everybody.
Aldijana Šišić, reporting for UN Women from Davos 2023. And it's not just UN Women first ever Gender Equality Hub. It's the first Gender Equality Hub in Davos, full stop.
Full stop. She's putting a period on that one. All right.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Keiko, tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Keiko Honda. I'm former EVP and CEO of Mega Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency World Bank Group. Now I'm working at some of the private sector as well as teaching at Columbia University.
Oh, what are you teaching?
ESG investing.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Michelle.
Michelle Milford Morse. I'm the Vice President for Girls and Women's Strategy at the United Nations Foundation, and thrilled to be here with y'all. And you can call me M3.
M3, is that what you prefer?
People in my office and people all around the UN do, because I think Michelle Milford Morse is a lot of letters, so I like it.
Okay, we'll call you M3. Yeah, I'm slow, but got my coffee here. It is coffee time, so why not? So how has our day been? You got some stories to talk about. Well, let me start with you first, right? We'll start with you, M3. Almost goofed up there.
No, you did it great. No, it's been a really good day. The word on the street is about the poly crisis, right? So the overlapping, intersecting crises of inflation, sustainability, climate collapse, extreme weather. Not enough talk about inequality, in my opinion, though. So really important conversations about those things, what the world needs to do to be serious, how we need to change to stop climate change. I welcome all of that. I would like there to be more conversations, though, about how all of that affects half our human family, girls and women and all their diversity. But always hopeful to hear some inspiring stories out on the promenade today, and I heard some, which is good.
How many Davoses have you been to?
This is my third.
Your third?
Yes.
This is our favorite question, right?
Yes, it is.
On your third, how's it different than your first?
Yep.
Well, what I remember about the first one was January 2020. And we were all crammed in very, very small rooms and breathing on each other at the beginning of what would then, of course, be a global pandemic. So I look back at that time thinking that it was a really unique moment in time where we didn't know what was coming. And then I came in May of last year. So it was in May because the Omicron variant had shut down the January 2021 version. Sure. And it's easier to get around in May, I have to say. It's a little bit more relaxed. You don't have to have the spikes on your boots. But each one is unique and different. I think attracts a different cast of characters. My agenda is always to bring gender equality to it, so I'm always happy to do that.
Yeah, no, I must say, I've been here only 2 times, so I don't have much to say. But I did prefer May rather than those spikes.
Yeah.
But how about you?
Well, this is
your not first.
This is my fourth. Of course, the discussion is a little less about the gender equality. It's more like, inflations and geopolitical risks. But I have to tell you, when you get into like a main entrance, what we saw is only women in a room. That's the pictures of one woman in each major, some boardroom. Some of them are like, game. So I think we used to be like only like a 1 or even like a 0 woman in a room. So I think that picture reminded me like how we kind of lived in 1970s and 80s and 90s.
So it's changed? There's more women in thing?
Well, I'm originally from Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Japan has a little slow. Having said that, UN setting, World Bank Group setting, we have more women in the room. But the question is, how about the Wall Street? How about the real street?
Well, what do you think in media? How is that in your world in terms of the woman presence? And we're talking every layer. We're not
Yeah.
talking just like 5 boardroom members and then 5 women and 5 men.
I think that's a really great question. When we look at the United States and the 3 major networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, 2 of them are led by African American women right now, setting records in their respective networks. We have not had that sort of intersectionality at the top of these very special places in the United States. And so the last couple of years have been really amazing that we now have these presidents at ABC and NBC that represent women and gender equality and also represent women of color. So, and we can talk about all these topics for hours, right? And I think when we see that in media, it's been great to see the rising from producers to executive producers, and then finally popping at the word president of the network is just like, woo, this is fantastic. And I meant MSNBC in terms of
You said
president.
intersectionality. We'll talk about that tomorrow.
Yes, yes, we'll do that, yes.
We have a big plan.
We do,
to talk
yes.
about it
On your show,
tomorrow,
on this
show.
yeah.
Because Richard is doing something amazing intersectionality at the workplace, which I won't reveal.
Tease.
But Q&A for tomorrow.
Yes.
Tomorrow we'll do. But actually, can I ask 3 questions?
Yes.
Because I want to ask you. You were today with me. I had the pleasure of being with you on the same panel today.
It was
Yeah.
lovely.
Violence against women, and I wanted to just again, 3 Davoses later talking about violence against women, and you said something that I thought was very important at the very end. What do
Yes.
we want as action point? And I wanted to kind of sum it up. Tell us, what do you think about violence against women in Davos?
Well, I'm a fan of ambition and big ambition.
Yeah.
And so I studied the agenda at the Congress Center, and there aren't enough sessions about gender equality. I was happy to see one about care work. We need caring societies, we need care structures. Everybody needs care. I need care. You need care.
Uh-huh.
Women overwhelmingly provide all the care work in all the
True.
societies.
Yep.
It's a massive wealth transfer that they offer to economies. It's
Mhm.
of critical importance. So I'm glad to see them address that, and I'm glad that it's on the stage. I think that it should be. But I think we have to have a session on violence against women on the main stage in the Congress Center. Setting aside that we're in a place where the conversation is often around economies and investment and business, sure. But let's not forget how expensive violence against women is. I mean, first and foremost, it is a human rights violation. It is an egregious human rights violation that affects 1 in 3 women all over the world. That fact and doing something about that and tending to survivors is the most important thing. The next, we need to really point out what a drain on resources violence is. It is a drain on police resources, it is a drain on hospital resources, on public health resources. It is a drain on private sector companies, the well-being of their workforce. It robs women of the opportunity to earn money. It makes them unsafe in their own homes. It makes their children unsafe. It is a massive drain on resources and denies us the kind of societies that we want. That is very expensive. Why aren't we talking about that on the main stage? It is of absolute relevance to policymakers, to government leaders, to private sector leaders. So I said to Aldijana later, we should form an alliance and we should get that on stage because it's that important.
So I want to get your perspective, since you're on the same panel, or you were leading the panel on this very important topic of violence against women. What is violence against women? It's not one thing. It's a whole bunch of different things. How would you help those who aren't comfortable or not sure of what that might mean understand what the scope and the breadth of what violence against women could be?
Well, I mean, we have a statistic that we've been unfortunately using for so many years, which is 1 in 3 women experience some form of violence in their lifetime. And emphasis on some form of violence, because, violence can range from trafficking to online violence to female genital mutilation, child marriage. People, when you say violence against women, immediately think domestic violence.
That's right.
But that's not that. There's economic violence. There's many psychological violence. There's so many different forms in which a woman experience violence. And I was so happy that you said that today, because I think we really don't talk enough about how particularly violence against women, and that power relation, which bottom line, that's what it is, affects everything that we do on SDGs. All of SDGs are linked with violence against women. It's a core, that power relations that exercise over women that are then transformed into some form of violence, be that I'm withholding the land from you, I'm withholding the money from you, I'm physically abusing you, I'm raping you, I'm trafficking you, I'm treating you as a piece of property or whatever. That's what it is. That translates into everything else, that power over... I just still really find very hard to understand talking about the care or talking about why is it, I don't get rationale, why do women get paid less for the same job? Nobody has given me explanation yet. Yeah, we have same education. I'm a doctor, you're a doctor, I'm a professor, you're a professor, I'm the carpenter, you're the carpenter, whatever profession I'm in. And the same education, same skills, everything the same, and men get more money, less money. Look at I'm going to use American football right now, or soccer, because I live right now in America. So. American footballers, this whole campaign that women's American football has right now in terms of the pay. I mean, they actually brought even the medal back home, and they're still paid less than the boys. So, talking about violence against women, I think that needs to be at the World Economic Forum next year on the agenda, because it underpins so much of the rest of the world. The global crisis, the climate crisis, the conflicts, everything is linked with the violence against women.
And part of that fabric that you're describing, that sometimes we don't see that the presence or the lack of presence is in that arc of how we do get to violence. It's sometimes difficult to draw the correlation, but it is part of the arc. When we are not used to, and depending who you are, you can react in ways over a course of time that builds up a community and ecosystem that then fomates this very problem of violence against women. All right, I'm not making the direct correlation to having, yes, we need to have more women here at Davos. What I am saying is we need to be more inclusive of all the voices in the space so that we understand the stories that women are going through. For instance, microaggressions, that's part of that arc, certainly, right? And it happens in industry, in business. Finance, I know that in my experience, Keiko,
finance now world.
And this is really, heart of what Davos originally was started. One of the main tent poles was finance, and you've seen the beginning, the middle, and today.
Well, I think, actually I was one of the women an only woman in a room.
I know.
That was not like a long time ago. I am not that young, but that was my lifetime, let me say it this way. But the question is, I have a daughter, she's 25 years old. Mm-hmm. Do I really want her to be only woman in a room? Possibly bank boarding room? Possibly I don't know, like some office, doing some IT work. We don't really want to do that. Then I think, what we can really do. I think, one great thing is about the World Economic Forum, at least for like the last 10 years, they don't have any panel if it's only men on the panel.
A manel.
Manel. Oh, I love that.
Yes, that's what we call manels, which are not good to have.
Right. So, I think, but I got to tell you, that's, it's not necessarily every single conference are like that.
Yeah. But doesn't it get you when you see it?
Yes. You know what? Yesterday we had a great event, which was a he for she event. I think you saw.
Yeah, it was great. Yes.
He's wearing his he for she pin. Yes.
Is that what that is? I don't know.
And the CEO of PwC said something that really stuck with me in his speech. He was a keynote speaker and said something that stuck with me. He says we need to be more respectfully intrusive in changing the game. Yeah? In terms of, we've been talking, we've been giving statistics, we've been reporting, we've been doing surveys, we've been doing films, we've been doing everything to get the message out and to say and to show. So it's not like we are lacking in information data, and now in the digital world, We have so much that we can see. We hear the stories of women survivors. We see them on our news every night. Yeah. So I think it's a time, as Mr. Morse said, to be respectfully intrusive, to be more. He was asking why in this room we have men who are already converted, or women. We are talking to converted.
Yeah.
We need to go into those spaces in the world economic forum where those who are making decisions are not converted yet, need to hear and make decisions about it.
And that was just like, I think, dumb US guy talking about feet. About 300 feet down that way was where you also had the announcement of your first, again, he for she, from the Middle East and Northern Africa.
That's right.
And that was happening right here just down the street. And so this is important when you can show up and bring more in, because this, as we always say, this is not an issue about women, it's a human rights issue, right? It's about everybody having a right to be you, whoever you are.
That's absolutely, because I think in Davos is the place a lot of global readers
Yeah.
show up. Then I think they kind of look at each other, like somebody started to saying very intentional inclusion of women is very, very important. That's will definitely affect everybody's kind of minds. By the way, I said I'm working on some of the private sector work. One of the company I'm on the board called Recruit, they own a company called Indeed. They do like a job search things. Indeed decided introduce one rule, which is if they don't have a diversified candidates for some recruiting their own staff, they cannot start the recruiting process of the interviews.
Well, there are statistics that show that, Keiko, and you're alluding to this and you may know about it, that when you're going through a recruiting process, immediately when you have 2 out of 3 of your candidates being diverse, the likelihood that you will hire a diverse candidate almost goes up by 100%. It doubles, the likelihood almost doubles. So if you just increase your candidate pool, and it's also part of an education for every company, that all of a sudden you've just done better, and there's some better.
I want to just say something else that is missing from Davos, which we talked about today. I want to kind of reflect on today, at least what I've heard as well.
Yeah.
I really would want to see more of 2 particular voices. One is, apart from female voices, that's youth here is missing, and that is civil society for me. It's missing.
Yeah.
Really missing in terms of, we had some great speakers from civil society here and there, because and that's that needs to be intentional.
Yeah.
The civil society, for example, women's rights organizations, they cannot afford to come to Davos. The cost of Davos is huge. And there's no space that is provided. So I really want to push the call out to the private sector, particularly, to think about bringing civil society intentionally here to shape the dialogues. If you think of feminist economists, for example, or films, you might not even agree with some of the positions.
Good, that's better.
Yesterday, again, another Maha Katan from DP World coined another thing. She says, from main power to brain power. And I thought that was such a great way of shifting from that patriarchy, from, let's say, main power, to togetherness, to be in a brain power space where we use everybody's brain, everybody's analysis, everybody's rationale to build a better world.
I wanted to, by the way, pop in. We're just having coffee here, so don't wait. Just talk as you like. One of the things that I saw when you talk about generational representation here at Davos is there's something called Wisdom House. And it is specifically for folks that are in their 20s and teens. And they're not too far from here. We drove by Wisdom House. Have you heard of them? And that's the one representation of generational diversity. Exactly. And it's so important that we get that here. Yeah. There's also socioeconomic diversity. And I know that we're here at the World Economic Forum. And again, as I said yesterday, the Super Bowl of business conferences in the world, right? The World Cup, of business conferences. And so here we are, but we know when we participate in the World Cup, it represents a whole bunch of different people.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. That's great.
And so, how do we do that? Okay, I want to reflect on what's outside today. What have you seen on the streets today? Because it's like 4 feet away from us from here.
Stuff was cold as yesterday.
On my way here, I passed Jose Andres, and it was all I could do not to stop. And
Was he giving away food?
no, he was having a conversation about narrative and feeding people, and just walking past him, I had to smile, seeing him. That was quite fun. I think some of the people in the Congress Center are beginning to come out. I've noticed bigger delegations of people coming down the streets with their security team. I think that's good because out here on the streets, you do have a little bit more of a diverse population, if not optimally diverse, more of a diverse population. I'm hoping not to see anyone slip in the ice. That's always something I'm always hoping that doesn't happen to people while they're here.
Yeah, and it's not too icy today. A little wetter.
Yeah.
Yeah. What have you seen?
What do you
What do you think?
What do you think?
Well, I think I definitely see more young people.
Me too. Yeah, I've been noticing that.
This, World Economic Forum has a dedicated global shapers.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Are they? I don't know. They're like 20s and 30s.
Yes. Yeah. Young
They
professionals.
are like very impressive.
Yeah.
High aspirations and energy to go. So that's actually wonderful things to see.
Yeah. It is good.
It's true. I've seen the same thing. What have you? Madam
Just one more
co-moderator, what have you seen?
Madam co-moderator, I just want to hear more of their voices and in that conference center. It's all, here outside you get energy, that is for sure. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of women talking about women's rights. There's a lot of young people talking about climate, talking about it. But I want all of that to move just like 500 meters or whatever, how far we are away, into that space with the intention. Yeah. I think we all here we are action oriented, and businesses are action oriented. I mean, that's what the private sector is known for. Yeah, they deliver. And we have been talking for way too long, and not having enough action. 300 years to achieve gender equality. I just cannot accept that.
Right.
And I think all men. This is not women's issue. All men have to have a plan how to shorten that gap. Yeah? So it's not just women working on women's rights. 300 years to achieve gender equality is just not right. It's not acceptable.
I agree.
And it's men who have to have a plan how to change and shorten that period.
Yeah, I agree. We just mentioned the fact about the he or she, but I'm pretty sure not that many people know about the program. Can you just kind of introduce what the he or she is?
I'm going to ask Richard to do that because he is actually really literally he or she. He is a member of that movement.
Yeah, when he for she started, was it 7 years ago?
7 years ago.
It was, I thought, an amazing campaign and very well done. Yeah. And I immediately signed up, Keiko, and I was like, how do we lean in at every level of society? And so yesterday, when they were, again, down the road celebrating he for she, it was at the corporate level because we're at Davos. But he for she is for every single person, me, average Joe, out in the street. Do your thing. Do your little thing. Figure out what the small things are that you can do. Think about the big things you can do. And the one thing I think it's important, as I've learned little by little, I always say I'm a feminist that is about 8 years old. I'm about this tall. And it means that I'm allowing myself to make mistakes, and I'm letting other people know that I need help. Because once you're in as he for she or as a feminist, doesn't mean you're all of a sudden born with the understanding the three of you have. And so that's very, very important. But I say that in explaining what he for she stands for, thanks to UN Women putting out this campaign. Just go to their site, look at all the different ways that you can engage, and you'll be surprised at how accessible this very idea is. And bring up the 6, 7, 8-year-old feminist, because that makes it accessible for men and boys, because sometimes we think it's this grand mountain it is a grand mountain to climb, but you don't all of a sudden leap over it at once. You kind of work at it.
It doesn't have to be complicated.
No.
What I often worry about with gender equality, and maybe it's why it is not as universally discussed in contexts like this, is that we've decided that it's a really complicated, entrenched thing, and that it's inevitable, and that it's cultural, and that we just can't do anything about it. It's just the way things have always been, and the way things will always be. And it's just not that complicated. Like, Gender equality is a solvable problem. We don't need a new vaccine. We don't need a moonshot. We don't need any of those. We already know what to do. And what we need is more solidarity. And not solidarity, and solidarity among the fair-minded people against the fair-minded people. Because gender equality is also not a battle between men versus women. It is a battle between the fair-minded people who want equal rights for everyone against the fair-minded people who are just much more comfortable with the way that things have always been. So this is not that we don't need a great scientific leap. We already know what to do, and what we need to do is we need to increase women's social, economic, and political power. And the only way to do that is for political will and solidarity and political will. And so the things that are happening here today where I do find encouragement is where people who wouldn't normally talk about it then raise their hand. Where the kind of constructive intrusion that you were speaking about.
Respectful intrusion.
That's more respectful intrusion. That is solidarity in action. That's what we need more of. So that's, I think, what I'm attuned to out on the street when I'm here as well. It's like, where can we pick up more allies? Where are they and where can we pick them up? And where can we convince them that this is a solvable problem? Like, we should be grateful for solvable problems.
Yes.
We got a lot of problems on the global agenda that are much trickier. This isn't one of them. We can actually solve this one. Solidarity and political will.
Oh, you're right. And it's so interesting you should say that, because he actually just launched the campaign, because it's called That's Not Right, Bro. It's actually just about intervention. Yeah? When something is wrong, is wrong. As a children, we are all taught by our parents, or majority of people around the world are, what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
And when something is wrong, you call out on it.
Yeah.
If you're a teenager in school and somebody is bullying the girl or bullying your friend, you call out on it. You don't just say, yeah, keep going, or pass by. Or if your friend, in a conversation, your best friend says something that is disrespectful about a woman, you call him on it. You just say, that's wrong, bro. And we use this bro because in every language, in a slang, you have that kind of, the way you speak to your closest friends, you have a...
Yeah, it's like in Silicon Valley, broy, right?
Yeah,
Broy, don't be broy. Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up that campaign, because the way that we can bystand and stand up, so bystander intervention, if not only check out the site and see what he or she is showing us and what we can do, but there's also a site called Right to Be, and they have something called 5 Ds of bystander intervention, which absolutely apply to what women face at work each and every day. Right. And how can all of us, when we see or hear that, address it? Because a lot of times we freeze, I freeze. And so what do? We have to have the different mechanisms, and there's more than one way to say, you can't do that. And so check out that site. That one's really... All right, so we're running out of time, unfortunately, but I want to ask, what are you looking forward to in the next 2 days?
Well, I have to point out our beautiful Generation Equality logo here. It's an incredibly important movement to up the ambition for gender equality and to bring in a lot more commitment makers and make sure that we achieve our goals. And so for the next 2 days, I want to be a supporter of the Generation Equality Forum movement. I want to find more commitment makers out there. We need to crowd in more allies and to achieve what we want for gender equality.
So Michelle's going to take one of the banners and just walk on the street and put in people's...
That'd be my
Here.
job.
Look at this. How about you, Keiko?
Well, I think I will do the same. Whenever we're just going to have meetings with the leaders from business and public sectors, I'm just going to bring up the gender issue to try to get their share of their mind for this.
Fantastic. Madam Co-Moderator.
Oh, I'm just going to, of course, work for generation equality. That's but I agree. I want to see some specific commitments that people are going to commit today and really deliver it by the time we meet again next year in Davos.
I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen to the words that folks are using, and are those words a part of action, a part of understanding what we are just talking about here, trying to gather a better understanding of what's happening so that I know what to do better myself. Right. So eyes and ears open. And guess what? That is the finish of our second broadcast here at the Gender Equality Hub, here at the UN Women office, if we will. Space, yeah. And we want to thank HCL, by the way, for hosting UN Women at this location. And we're going to come back again tomorrow. We'll have more discussions about what we're experiencing here on the Promenade at the World Economic Forum in Davos. So we thank you for being here, and we'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Okay, that's good. See, they're all nodding, yes. All right, have a good one. See ya.